Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every day at this stage on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. As you can see on the screen there, we're on Facebook, the Upper Tier. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter at _upper_tier. We're on Spotify, Podbean, iTunes. If you prefer audio version show, I don't know why you would prefer audio version show looking at this slickster beside me here who got the skin fade and the beard and everything done today, looking proper polished he is. Look at those lines, not a hair out of place. Looking whopper, my friend. Joining me,
good,
Darren. How are we, bud?
I'm all good, pal. Thanks for that intro. It was great.
Absolutely. Before we get into this week's ones, we should probably reflect on last week's ones, where you absolutely knocked a home run out of that baseball park with some of those picks. Yeah. What did you get in the end? About 4, 5 maybe?
No, I think it was closer to 6 or 7.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Friday evening I had the score draw on the Newcastle Leeds game.
Yeah.
I had Arsenal on Saturday against Burnley.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I had Brentford.
Yeah.
I had the 3 results on the Sunday. I had Chelsea to give Spurs a spank, and I have United to pip West Ham, and I had Brighton to do Leicester over as well. And I think I might have had Liverpool with that. So I think I'm up at about 7. I had a good week last week. No, I was impressed with myself, if I'm honest.
Well, it's safe to say between yourself and Mark, you absolutely bashed the bookie last week without a shadow of a doubt. Just to let our viewers know, before we get into this week's Premier League matches, we will be dropping a special episode tomorrow. I did an interview during the week with Felix Healy of Derry City fame, and he had some amazing stories, some heartbreaking, some really good about football and stuff like that, a proper footballing man. It was an absolute pleasure to sit down and do a podcast with him. That'll be dropping tomorrow, so look out for that. Let's get into this then. Massive weekend of football coming up. Match week 6. No better place to start. 12:30 on Saturday. Get the lunchtime rocking. Chelsea versus Man City.
Yeah, this is going to be a good game, man. This is going to be a good game, but I've got to be honest, I don't see City getting that now, this. I really don't. I think Chelsea have been so good at the back. They look super solid. They're potent going forward. They've got Lukaku, who's going to keep the 2 centre-backs of City really, really busy. You know, they've got the boys that are going to play off and maybe Werner, maybe Havertz, maybe Mount. I think this is going to be a tough day at the office for Pep and his boys, if I'm honest with you.
What you're making on City? What you're making on City so far this year? They've kind of flattered to deceive a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, and listen, they're still missing a few boys. They've rarely had Foden and De Bruyne out there, until the League Cup game during the night. So obviously, or during the week, so obviously you're going to have De Bruyne and Foden back. You mix in the likes of he's probably going to play Ferran Torres up front. He's going to play Jack Grealish as well. So and maybe a Fernandinho or a Gundogan. So you're probably that's 5 of the front 6. There's not a whole lot you can do after that. I really, really feel like City are screaming out for a striker, man. And I just feel like that's gonna pull them back a little bit this season. I think all over the pitch, they've a good keeper, they're decent at the back, they've a superb midfield, and they've got great creativity. But I just don't think they've enough players to put the bomb in the back of the net for them when it counts and in the big games. And I think Chelsea are flying. They've got their tails up, they're confident, they're playing well. I think Thomas Tuchel looks like he was born to play in this league and to kind of manage in this league, it's all coming very, very easy to him at the minute, and they're full steam ahead. So I see this as a Chelsea win.
Comfortable or close?
It'll be close. It'll be close because City are a good team, but I think Chelsea will do it. Yeah, I think they'll beat them. I'm gonna say 2-1 Chelsea.
Good show. Yeah, I think Chelsea at the bridge are just so solid. And Man City, I don't know. There's a lot of talk. The talk that came out there last week, the week before, Pep planning on leaving. All the talk about the fans and the giving away of tickets and all this. There's just so much distractions, I think, at the moment off the pitch. And I just don't know whether that will lend itself to the form guide on the pitch. But certainly a great match, and a match that will leave an impression on us as the kind of where the title race is going to be and stuff like that. It should be interesting. Huge game.
And I know, listen, it's so early to be making any sort of ludicrous statements, but City do need to, keep the ball rolling here. The defeat here for City is another 3 points dropped, and they've had a couple of silly draws already, and they just start dropping a few points here and there. Listen, don't get me wrong, they're going to absolutely steamroll certain teams, and we fully expect them to be in the top 4 come the end of the season. But stranger things have happened where teams went off the boil a little bit, and it's confidence, and it's all of a sudden you're looking around the dressing room and who's pulling in what direction and stuff. So, I think it is important for City as well at this stage. Yeah,
and especially on the back of that Champions League win as well, you know what I mean, by Chelsea, like Tuchel has the ace in the sleeve there, really, in terms of Pep. Let's move on. Manchester United versus Villa. Another big game.
Big game, yeah. Tough game. I think Villa have been playing okay. Obviously, they had a great result last week against Everton. They brought Chelsea to penalties the other night in the Carabao. Yeah. So they're starting to pick their form up. I still think he's searching for a formation. But they've goals in them. They really do now. I think I saw there's quite a few of the Villa boys out. I think Leon Bailey is out, and certainly one of the front 2, i.e. Watkins or Ings, is out, and maybe someone else. Is John McGinn suspended after last week, or is he injured?
It could be McGinn, could be McGinn.
McGinn is injured, I think, because he came off very early last week. So they've a few little injuries, Villa. But what I will say is United so far have been very, very good at home. They put a couple of beatings on Newcastle and Leeds. Villa are a better side, but I also think if United can get the ball rolling early in this, we could see a few goals. Another 3-1 maybe to United or something like that.
Yeah, they need to bounce back. That was very disappointing in the Carabao Cup, so they need to bounce back big time.
Yeah, I think he was looking to give guys a game. Fellas that needed minutes and stuff like that, and it's not ideal when you end up having a Premier League team in the draw. That you don't feel like you can feel as many of the younger kids or blah blah blah. But credit to West Ham, they came and they were resolute. United had an awful lot of chances. Yeah. For me, they should have scored at least one, but and again, like you don't want to start harping on about this. It's very early in the season, but there's another Stonewall penalty that's turned away by the referee. The pull on Jesse Lingard, and another reoccurring theme that we've had over the first couple of weeks of the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I just think it's just, I don't know. I spoke about it on the Carabao Cup review there, but making 11 changes, I don't think that's the way to go, really. And I think it's really important when you have squads this big with so much youth and fringe players and stuff like that. It's really important to stay in these cups until the latter stages to give these guys proper game time. Otherwise, they're kind of out on the wind unless there's big injuries or something like that,
Well, here's another. I mean, and you're 100% right when you say that. Like, if the next Carabao Cup round is in 2 weeks, you had guys getting another game in 2 weeks' time. And then if you get through your group in the Champions League, maybe there's another game there. And then maybe there's an FA Cup game, you start to feed. And then all of a sudden, if someone's starting to show a bit of a prospect, you go, do you know what? This guy can have a game. Because there was positives for me against West Ham. I thought the Low was excellent. And I think he's probably going to start pushing Wan-Bissaka for this right back spot soon enough. And I thought Lingard was excellent again and was just unlucky not to maybe get a goal or a penalty. But again, he's probably in the mix for Saturday, I think.
Yeah, what you're making on Sancho so far and Martial? I mean, Martial seems like he's one leg out the door, really, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was the biggest disappointment last night, for me. I always had a little bit invested in Martial. I was there the day he made his debut against Liverpool. And we brought him off the bench, and he came down the left wing, and there was this little shimmy in and out, and all of a sudden he was in on the keeper. He put the ball, and you thought, "Oh my God, who have we just signed here?" But he has absolutely flattered to deceive. At times, the kid looks like a real baller, and then other days, and as was the case last night, he just looks so disinterested. His body language is so poor. He must be frustrating the absolute nuts out of the boys on the pitch as well, because I know myself, if I looked across and I seen a bloke like that on a pitch with me, I'd feel like giving them a slap myself and just saying, you know, kid, you've got a Man United jersey on. Think of all the kids at home that don't have the ability that you have, but they would run through a brick wall for that jersey and for this club, and you're just not, you know, you're not lifting your weight at all, man. It is poor now, I have to say. I don't see him being there. Possibly even after January. I know January's tough to get deals done, but I think we could even see the end of him in January. Sancho, I suppose, is the opposite. Sancho's only beginning his kind of Old Trafford journey, and you know, he's still acclimatising to the Premier League. He didn't play an awful lot of Premier League football before he left Man City. You know, I think there was a game, maybe two even, but nothing more than that. So he's acclimatising from German football to the Premier League. We saw with the likes of Havertz and Werner, that wasn't always as easy last season because the pace is different, and maybe there's not enough space, or there's not as much space in certain areas of the pitch. So I think it'll take him a few weeks, but I've no doubt he will come good for us. You know, I think he's got an awful lot of quality, and he had a little knock at the start of the season. So I think he'll come back all right. To be honest with you, I wouldn't worry about him yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the quality of him will eventually shine through. You know, but just
I think so.
At the moment, it just seems like he's trying to figure it all out really and bring it together really. You know, but there's no doubt he will. He's a fantastic talent. I presume you're going for United in this without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 United. I don't think we'll have a clean sheet because we just don't look like having clean sheets at the minute. We certainly look better at the back, but I still think there's small errors and little things that need to be ironed out and stuff. And Villa are reasonably good going forward, so I think they'll get 1, but I think we'll get 3 and get 3 points, hopefully.
Good show. Everton versus Norwich.
Yeah, you know, Everton were flying, weren't they? And then obviously you've had the win, or you've had Villa thumping them last week, and then you've had the cup game against QPR, which was a tough night at the office as well, wasn't it, for them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, listen, Norwich, for me, Norwich are really, really going to struggle this season. And as poor as Everton might have been in the last couple of games, they'll have more than enough in the tank for Norwich, or they should do, for my money, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I always sometimes look at these fixtures and I think that's one that could kill your bet in terms of a draw or something like that. You know, just roll out a rotten draw or something like that. But
yeah, and it only takes one to throw the whole thing, you know. So it's
absolutely,
they're not as easy to pick up as we think, these accumulators, or these little bets, you know.
Absolutely. Let's move on. Leeds versus West Ham.
Yeah, should be a good game. Should be very open. It's going to be, you know, for me, it'll probably be like a game of basketball. It'll be you score, we score type thing. West Ham are obviously much better at the back. They're much better organised, but they're still an attacking team. Like, as much as they played well against us, they gave away an awful lot of chances. Now, I don't think Leeds, and I said to you on a previous episode, I don't think Leeds have enough goals in them this season. But I think they'll score this weekend. And I'm going for a score draw on this one, which is what I went for last week with Leeds. And I think Leeds need to somehow find a way to board up that goal to make sure they can pick up victories, you know, because at the minute they just concede way too many goals and chances. But I think West Ham are a similar side. They are a better side than Leeds for me at the minute. But I think, I think a score draw here.
Yeah, kind of Fortress Ellen Road hasn't really kicked in yet this season. Sure, it hasn't. The expectation that we had at the start of the season, but these would be tough grounds to go to. But a lot of teams have started to go there and pick up points. So we'll see what happens. Leicester versus Burnley. Leicester need a big result here, don't they?
They do, and like, you know, it's not great going into games at Burnley looking for results. You know, they can just be so dogged, and you know, they can put so many men behind the ball and make you win every single challenge and every header, and they just drag you down into the absolute doldrums, Burnley, don't they? And I mean that with the most amount of respect possible. Yeah. Because I think Dyche does a really, really good job with what they've given him there. Yeah. He's got a squad of absolutely bang average players, and he just gets enough out of them every season to keep them, you know, in that money pit that is the Premier League. But yeah, I think Brendan does need a result, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think Leicester have had a bad start to the season.
Yeah, and I think, you know what the fear is there's a Europa League football next week. And I know Leicester were home the first week against Napoli, which means they're more than likely away next week. Thursday night football, going away, then coming back to the league. You have to travel, you have the whole shooting match. So that could be tough. I would imagine Leicester are going to try and do a little bit of a job on Burnley here this weekend, so that if anything happens the following week when the Europa League is on, it's not such a big dent to them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I think they definitely need a result here, and I think they'll get it.
Yeah, I think last time when you called this about the travel in Europe and stuff like that, you got it absolutely spot on. So yeah, absolutely. Watford versus Newcastle. Brucey, this is last chance saloon really for Brucey, isn't it?
This is last chance saloon for Brucey. And you know what? I think Watford are a massive banana skin for the likes of Newcastle. I think from a work rate point of view, Watford are really, really good. They've got a lot of high energy up the pitch and stuff like that. They're pressing, they're trying to nip the ball back off you. You know, I think they're playing okay, Watford. Listen, is it going to be very, very tough for them to stay in the league? Absolutely. But am I discarding them from staying in the league right now? I couldn't say I am, you know, not after what I've seen in the first 5 weeks. They've picked up a couple of good wins, you know. And if they can pick up a couple of wins every 5 to 6 games, that'll leave them pretty close to what they need for the out of this, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think Newcastle, you know, playing somebody like Leeds suited them last week because Leeds cough up chances. I don't think Watford will cough up the amount of chances Leeds did. And I think Watford are going to do them this week, and it could be the end of Brucey.
Yeah, I think the boy Sarr is on fire at the moment. He's after finding his form again, banged in a couple of goals there last weekend. And I also think they'll want to prove a point as well, because that was a bad exit out of the cup there midweek as well, like, you know.
Yeah.
I think they went out to Stoke, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not great for them. Then the 5:30 kickoff, Liverpool travelling to Brentford. That new stadium, super cool fans, absolutely boisterous. But Liverpool at the moment seem to have a steely determination about their play and their pattern and what they want to achieve this year. What you thinking on this one?
Yeah, like, I don't think I'd like to go there. You know, as when it's United's turn, I don't think it'll be pleasant watching, pleasant viewing. They're gonna make you really get down and dirty, aren't they, Brentford? Make you fight for everything. I think they just work their absolute socks off. But I think with an awful lot more quality than most teams of that kind of standards have. The boy Ivan Toney, he's a very, very good player. Yeah, it really is. You know, the Brian Muemba boy, he's another good player. You've got Kanyos, they can defend. The keeper, Raya, looks a decent keeper. You know, they're a solid side. I wouldn't be shocked to see us drop a couple of points here at the weekend. But I do think there's going to be sides that go there and drop points. It could be United, it could be City, it could be, you know, Chelsea. I don't think this is going to be a happy hunting ground for big teams.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a little bit of a throwback. It's that smaller stadium.
Yeah.
It's those stands like almost on top of the pitch. I don't think teams are going to like playing here. Yeah. And I think, you know, the crowd is going to make it very, very difficult for them. And I think that, you know what you're going to get from Thomas Frank and his boys. And I think it's going to be tight.
Yeah, and an evening fixture as well. But it's one of those, isn't it, that really you're looking at it and you think that's one we want to get out of the way. We don't want to have to go there. Let's get that done. Go in there, try get the 3 points, but let's just get out of here, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
I have to go with Liverpool on this one. I think Liverpool at the moment, I just think they have something about them at the moment that reminds me of their form back in 18, 19, where they're just laser focused at the moment on what the goal is. And I think that will shine through. I think they'll just have that bit too much quality. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Let's move on to Sunday. Southampton versus Wolves. Southampton showing a little bit of form at the moment. We were worried about them because they had sold off most of the crown jewels. But with Ward-Prowse there and these guys, Romelu in the midfield and stuff like that, they're showing a bit of form, aren't they?
Do you know what? I think at times we don't necessarily see what scouting systems do for teams. And I think Southampton are an absolute, they're a gem when it comes to recruitment and stuff like that. They've got a couple of boys in from Chelsea. The boy Livramento was absolutely superb. He really, really is. And the boy Broja up front hasn't scored yet, but has looked very good, very threatening. I think Nathan Redmond's come back to himself a little bit. I think Ward-Prowse is a smashing footballer. Again, if Southampton struggle this season, I'd be shocked if he doesn't step out next season. I know Villa looked at him in the summer. They looked at him heavily. And he signed that new deal and stuff. I think Hasselhutton has them very well drilled. They're not going to score loads of goals, and this is what's going to have them in trouble, you know. And the letting go of that kind of clinical goal scorer like Danny Ings will bite them in games. But I think again they'll do enough to stay up this season, and you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see them turn Wolves over either.
Yeah, Wolves are really struggling at the moment, aren't they?
They are now. I obviously watched them in the Carabao a little bit as well. They were 2-2 with Spurs, and you know, they got a couple of goals, and you thought, all right, maybe the floodgates will open here. And it didn't, and even at the penalties, they looked like they were lacking confidence. You know, Ruben Neves stepped up to take a penalty, and it was just a horror show. You know, and you just think, God, like, where are they going to get the amount of goals they're going to need? Because while they're solid at the back, they're not like, you know, they're not stingy, as in they're not conceding at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're going to need 60 goals to stay up this season. Wolves minimum. Like, I don't know where they're going to get 60 goals in 32 games.
Yeah,
you know,
I think you're spot on.
With looking at what they have available, I know the boy Podence, who I do like, I have to say, came off the bench, played in the Carabao and scored against Spurs, and I do like him. I think he's a good kid. But yeah, I think it's going to be a struggle for Wolves. I really do.
Yeah. So you're going with the Saints this weekend?
I'm going to go with the Saints. Yeah.
Tight enough though, I'd imagine. Yeah.
Very tight. And you know what? I wouldn't even be surprised to see a 0-0. But yeah, I think Southampton might sneak at 1-0.
4:30, probably the fixture of the weekend, the North London derby, Arsenal versus Tottenham. Arsenal starting to show a little bit of form. They've got a few players back. Good 1-0 win against Norwich, followed up by a 1-0 win against Burnley. Didn't really tell the tale of the game, but they've got their players back now. I think both teams have full fit squads, as far as I know. How do you see this one going? This is a real it's a real decisive one in terms of both managers, isn't it?
They're kind of at a crossroads, aren't they? I mean, Spurs started like a house on fire, you know, wins on the bounce, 1-0, 1-0, you know, everything was looking good. They were tight at the back. Now all of a sudden you're looking, they're conceding goals. You know, you've Kane dragging his heels up front. Whereas Arsenal were the complete opposite. Arsenal, you know, got thumped 3 weeks in a row. But the last couple of weeks, and I said to you it was the first time on week 4 that I looked and thought, oh, looks like an Arsenal team. Looks like a team, you know, starting to evolve a little bit. And then they went on last week, got the result. I thought they might beat Burnley. I thought it'd be close, but I thought they'd beat them. I was surprised, though, that they were able to pull out a clean sheet. That, for me, was as big a bonus for Arsenal as the win, was that they went there and were able to keep Burnley at bay. Because you know yourself, they'd have thrown corners, free kicks, throw-ins, everything into the box. They were the kind of things that over the years Arsenal have always struggled with. Now, I believe, I was talking to a friend of mine, Arsenal fan, said the last couple of weeks, been very, very impressed with Ben White. You know, so maybe have they found part of a solution there? Quite possibly. They brought the boy Ramsdale back in, or brought him in, giving him his chance ahead of Leno. Yeah, I think Arsenal are on an incline, and Spurs are just in a little dip. You know, just one of those little dips of form. Now, here's your trump card, or here's your joker in the pack. On any given day, if Harry Kane shows up, he can win a game of football for you. You know, and at the minute, he hasn't looked like himself. But he picked up a goal in the Carabao the other night. And if he can just get a little bit more confidence heading into this game, goal or two could be enough. I do fancy Arsenal, though.
Yeah.
And that's a big shout, because of late in London derbies, they have not been good.
Arteta has a big decision to make this weekend. Does Xhaka come back into the side?
Not for me.
But what about for him though? What's your take? I think he'll put him back in.
I have to say, like, putting him back in after what went on, you're asking for trouble. Fill me once, shame on you. Fill me twice, shame on me. He's done this too many times to Arsenal. I think Arteta would be absolutely nuts. I think the boy Thomas is a serious footballer. I really, really do. And I think, I'd keep the kind of legs of maybe Samuel Lokonga in there, the new lad, I think he looks a decent footballer. I'd have the two boys in there and let them kind of try and run that engine room. I don't think Xhaka brings, for me, enough to an Arsenal team. I know we talk about him maybe being one of the elder statesmen and one of the senior pros. But I mean, could you really call him a senior pro when he's making those absolute, howlers, with red cards and stuff like that? And I just think he's too much of a loose cannon. And I think I'd be sitting him on the bench until, maybe I needed a change and then decided, listen, now's your opportunity to show me what you're worth. And you might get a look in next week if you can prove it to me. But if you can't.
Yeah. I think the disappointment of the Roma deal not happening as well, is a decisive factor there. But I think he really wanted to move. But I think personally, I think Arteta might put him back in. And I think the risk there is if you put him back in and then this match goes arseways, you're in serious trouble. Serious trouble. And I think it's not the first time, in fairness to Arteta, that he was this brave in terms of a decision and it ended up going his way. But I think with this one, this is a different one now, and it could be very, very dodgy. I also looked at Spurs playing as well, and I don't know about you, but they were playing a lovely brand of football when Kane wasn't in the side in the early part of the season. Now that he's come into the side, it's as if they've slowed down, and it's if players feel, that they have to play the ball to him, that everything has to go through him.
Yeah.
And it kind of like, it negates the effect that you can have from a Dele Alli or a Moira or a Son or whatever it is, because everything's coming into him. He seems to drop a hell of a lot deeper to try and be involved more and more and more. And I wonder, is that the problem there at Spurs? I wonder, is Harry Kane trying to do too much? And these boys are trying to feed everything through him,
You're 100% right for my money. Is there a stage when a player gets too big for a team? And if there is, it's Harry Kane at Spurs now, because like that, the boys are looking to get in the ball. What's the first thing you do? I look for Harry. There's no point looking for Harry if we're looking to score a goal and Harry's, 10 yards from the halfway line. Yeah. Harry's not scoring from there. Harry needs to be on the last defender a little more. Now, I know we spoke about this newer position that, he had discovered under Mourinho and dropping short and stuff like that. But again, and I'll bring it back to Sir Alex Ferguson talking about Wayne Rooney. You can do all the work you want around that pitch, but if you're a striker, you need to come alive and you get that ball in that 18-yard box between those lines. And I think Son was doing a great job of that for Spurs when Kane wasn't in the side.
Yeah.
He keeps the two centre-backs so much more honest than Kane because obviously the movement is so much better. Now, he doesn't have the finishing prowess of Kane, but certainly from a work rate point of view and from a, creating trouble and trying to get defences turned. If you can get a defence turned, you can really cause trouble. But for me, I don't think Kane can do that as much anymore. He has almost not lost a step, but I never felt like he had that step. Do you know what I mean? He's a different sort of a striker. He's a throwback. He's scoring headers. He's scoring these rockets from 18, 20 yards. And you know what I mean? He was a real Alan Shearer type striker. Yeah. But he's not playing on the shoulder, and that's definitely slowing Spurs down for me,
Yeah, and it's very easy for a defence to drop off and work him out as well, isn't it? But it's an interesting conundrum because I just think when he wasn't in the side, there was this weight lifted off the players where they could go and express themselves. And now that he's back in the side, it's like, as you said, it's the Harry Kane show. So everything has to go through him and it's kind of shackling the side a little bit. But this is going to be a proper test for both teams. And a real, it's a match that both teams badly need to win. Both managers are under that little bit of pressure there. Arteta probably a little bit more, even though he's picked up 2 wins. you know, the fan base there at the moment are saying like they need 9 points out of those 3 games. So a win against Spurs would be vital, and especially being your arch rival and stuff like that as well, you know.
I think, and just not to cut across, I think that's going to play a big part right now. Arsenal aren't going to be fighting for top 4. You know, I think that's a given. I don't think Spurs will either. But will the likes of being, you know, sitting above the other team be enough to appease a set of fans? Possibly. And that's where this game, for me, becomes very big. Whereas, you know, you lose to Spurs, it's massive. But if you win to Spurs, it's also massive, but on your side. And that's where I think it's going to fall, you know.
Yeah, it reminds me of when Liverpool weren't really challenging, but yet the games against Man United were so big and so vital to us and to use as well. You know what I mean? So it's kind of that kind of thing where we knew we weren't really going to be challenging, but the games against United were always huge, you know? So it's a similar type situation there. We round out then on Monday night, 8:00, Palace versus Brighton. Love Brighton, love Graham Potter. Absolutely outstanding. Yeah,
they're doing well, aren't they, Brighton, you know? They're probably exceeding our expectations based on how difficult they found it to score goals last season. But they haven't opened the floodgates yet, but they've certainly shown that they've become a little more clinical over the summer and they can create a little bit more and stuff like that. I like Brighton, I must say. Really love Potter. You know, I think he's a big deal waiting to happen. You know, and I've mentioned before, and I'm going to keep mentioning it because when it happens, then he's a lot of go, Jesus, your man's talking about that months now. I think he could be an Arsenal boss in the next 2 to 3 years. Even quicker if Arteta gets the hook, you know. But I think Selhurst Park is a difficult place to go. You know, I know Spurs saying that a few weeks ago. And I think he'll start the boy Edouard this week. You know, obviously he didn't start him last week. They had a tough time at the office. But he still probably should have scored against you lads, if I'm honest. So I think he probably needs to give him a roll of the dice here. I think Palace are a decent side, but I think they'll be a better side with Edouard in it because I think Benteke is just, you know, he's lacking so much for a centre forward in that league. Not just goals. I think his on-round play is very, very poor. You know, he's become an Andy Carroll type figure. You know, so I think he needs to probably step aside and let Edouard come in. I think Vieira will do enough to get something out of this on Monday. I'm going to go for a score draw.
Good shout. Yeah, absolutely. A difficult place to go to when you're looking for a result. But then Brighton are always that surprise package. They just play football a certain way and they never stop fighting for Potter and stuff like that, you know.
They do, and they've looked very, very good at the back, you know, and our own Shane Duffy has been revitalised. Yeah. I couldn't, and I'd be the first person to hold my hands up and say, I couldn't see Shane Duffy coming back into the Premier League after what happened in Celtic. He looked like a bloke playing Sunday League. It was just horrific. And I was watching the games and I was thinking, I've seen this guy play big, big games for Ireland, you know, and be an absolute Trojan at the back. In that sort of a Richard Dunn mould, you know, the headband around him and just put everything on the line. And at Celtic, he just looked like a guy. I don't know whether I've heard a couple of stories. And, you know, it's all speculation. I heard maybe he was drinking an awful lot up in Celtic and he got part of this Republican culture, you know, and kind of forgot about him being a football player and he started being a figurehead for this city. But it's great to see him back at Brighton and it's great to see him churning out performances for them and for the Republic, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna say score draw. I think 1-1 Monday night will do it.
Yeah, good shout. I have to agree with you there. Well, this has been your Premier League preview, match week 6. Can you believe we're 6 games into the season already? Seems to be flying by, doesn't it?
It does, but you know what? All these breaks, all these Carabao Cups, all these international footballs, all these Europe, geez, it's just like, when are we going to get a run of games type thing as well, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just go Premier League, because we love the other competitions, but the Premier League's just our bread and butter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great when you hear that international stuff is out of the way, isn't it? And you just have a real run up to Christmas and stuff like that. Loads of games.
But this year we've got October and November with international again.
It's a bloody nightmare.
So it's stop, start. And I mean, I don't know about you, but the international football just doesn't excite me at all.
No.
It could be a thing that because Ireland are struggling, possibly, but I think like even when you're watching England games, you're watching them beat these shit football teams 4-0 and 4-0 and 4-0, and you're just thinking, this is getting so monotonous. Like, surely to God, someone needs to say, whoa, hold on here, this isn't working. But listen, we're stuck with it for now, I think.
Absolutely. Well, sure, we will dissect it down next Monday on the Monday mashup, but this has been your match week 6 preview for the Premier League. As always, Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube, the Upper Tier on Facebook, at the _upper_ tier on Twitter. You'll also get these shows on Spotify if you prefer audio version show. As I said earlier, I don't know why you'd prefer audio version show. Not necessarily for me, but this handsome bastard on my side here who's got dolled up today for the weekend, ready to go. Till next time, my friend.
Take it easy, buddy. Have a great one.